وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد, inshallah ta'ala, we'll start with Kitab al-Sawm, the book of fasting from Shaykh Ibrahim Zidan. But before we start, I would like to say something very brief to Brother Taylor and to everyone, since I didn't get a chance to talk to him. It's important for us also to keep on going back to the basics of this religion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it so easy for people to see the truth. And no matter how much a person will gain knowledge in the deen of Islam, things has to be referred back to the first pillar of Islam, the foundation of this deen, which is La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. That's the only thing that will bring the hearts together. The only one worthy of worship is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That means the only one that we turn to in matters of worship, in our deeds done by our hearts, whether it's sincerity, the love, fear, hope, any means of things done by the heart, or things said by the tongue, or actions done physically, have to be only for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator of the heavens and the earth, following the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, since he is the final messenger of Allah. We have to witness the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in everything, because if he's the creator of the heavens and the earth, it means he's the most wise. Human beings, they don't do things without a reason, even if the reason is a bad reason, but they do things for a reason. The creator of the heavens and the earth, he created everything with the most justice, right? And for a great wisdom, and the wisdom is to worship him alone, and that's why worship is such a comprehensive meaning that it's a way of life, not just a ritual that is done, a prayer or fasting or so. It's everything in our life, relationships, buying and selling, transactions, work, studying, anything in our life has to be for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, following the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that concept should stay true in all of our affairs. One of the miraculous things in the deen of Islam that you will not ever find this contradiction whatsoever. Whatever a person would say, the first thing to say when a person becomes a Muslim, that stays true in every action that he does. If he makes a salah, if he learns how to make the prayers, he do it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's not praying to a human being, to a creation of Allah, to the creator of the heavens and the earth. He makes prostration to the creator of the heavens and the earth, and so on, following the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he said, Sallu kama ra'aytumuni usalli, pray in the same manner that you saw me praying. If he wants to give charity, it's for the sake of Allah, following also the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, manners, how to do things and what is permissible, what is not permissible. It all has to be referred back to the pillar of Islam, without trying to introduce anything in the religion. The religion has been completed, and the Prophet ﷺ, when he died, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had completed during the life of the Prophet ﷺ, the wahy, the revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this level of submission that we do willingly to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is in all of our affairs, and we should witness the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all of our actions. One of which is, one of the pillars of Islam is fasting. And we know fasting is obligatory in the month of Ramadan. This is obligation for those who are capable, right? And for those who are not able to fast because of a sickness or old age, or a pregnant woman, or a woman after birth, or whatever condition that a person has, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the excuse for those, and with the rulings that will come inshallah ta'ala. But this is mandatory for those who are able to do that, seeking the rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone, because it came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, following also the way of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. So he says, Kitab al-Sawm. Kitab al-Sawm, the book of fasting. Sawm means to abstain from something, right? Whether a person abstain from speaking or from eating or drinking, literally, the word Sawm means to abstain from something, right? The nations before, as it's mentioned in Surah Maryam alayhi salam, Mary, the mother of Isa alayhi salam, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told her, when your people ask you about what is this child, which is Isa alayhi salam, he told her to tell them that she is in state of fasting. And the fasting she meant here is fasting from speaking. So this is something that used to be in the nations before, that they were ordered to fast, meaning abstain from speaking for a certain period of time. has been abrogated, right? When the Prophet ﷺ was sent, this is not permissible for a person to say, I worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with abstaining from speaking as a way of fasting. Right? This is not permissible. Fasting in the deen of Islam is to abstain from food and drink and sexual desires from the Fajr till Maghrib time. In the month of Ramadan, from the break of dawn to the Maghrib time. So this is what the definition of fasting religiously, right, is that we abstain from food and drink and sexual desires from Fajr, from the break of dawn till sunrise. Then he says, the first chapter within this book of fasting, Babu Wujubi Sawmi Ramadan, the chapter of the obligation to fast the month of Ramadan. By the way, this book is called Sahih Bukhari. It's not the Quran, it's the sayings of the Prophet ﷺ. This deen is to be followed, and for us to know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us is two sources. The first one is the Quran, the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the exact words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the miraculous words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the Sunnah. The Sunnah is the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He explained the Quran with his speech and actions and the things that he approved of. So that's why whoever think that they can only follow the Quran, they won't be Muslims unless they would follow the Sunnah, the way of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. And that's clearly said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammad Rasulullah. Two pillars, two words in the first pillar of Islam. To follow the orders of Allah mentioned in the Quran and the orders of Allah mentioned in the Sunnah. Because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he does not speak from his desire, he speaks from wahy, revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, Babu Wujubi Sawmi Ramadan, the chapter of the obligation to fast the month of Ramadan. And the month of Ramadan, this is in the lunar calendar, right? And it's next month, inshallah ta'ala. And it was called Ramadan from the heat of the desert, right? Not necessarily that it's the month where it's always come in the summer, but it happened this year to come in the summer. But it changes every year, it goes back 11 days, right? So sometimes in the summer, sometimes in the winter time. So this is what the month of Ramadan. And then he says, وَقَوْلِ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. The statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, the meaning of which, O you who believe, كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ. Kutiba means it's been made obligatory on you, الصيام, fasting, كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ, as it was prescribed to the people before you. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you will reach the level of taqwa, to have the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be obedient to Him, to elevate yourself and to increase your iman and belief, to be strong believers. So there's a goal to fasting, and it's supposed to change ourselves, to change the way that we do things. And that's why if fasting does not change us, that means there is a major problem in the way that we fast. Right? And there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that gives that meaning. That رُبَّ صَائِمٍ لَمْ يَمَلْ مِنْ صِيَامِهِ إِلَّا الْجُوعَ وَالْعَطْشِ, which means how many people they fast, but they only gain from it thirst, hunger and thirst. This is the only thing that they get from fasting. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most merciful, He does not need from us anything of food and drink and this or that. There's no benefit, right, from abstaining from the food and the drink. To Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's the creator of the heavens and the earth. He is in no need of us whatsoever. We are the ones that are in need of Him. So there is a reason behind abstaining from food and drink during the day of Ramadan, and there is the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To have the obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If a person would prove to himself that he can stay away from the necessities of his life, right? If a person stay away from eating and drinking for a few days, he might die, right? But this is only for a limited period of time throughout the day. If a person can prove to himself that he can have that level of control to himself, then he would not say afterwards, I could not help it but to commit sin. I could not help it to do this or to do that or to eat what is unlawful. Right? He would prove to himself that he is able to do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from him. And that's why you can see clearly, whoever applied the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is the strongest individual on the face of earth. Right? By the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most merciful, He does not order us to do something over our capacity. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not put a burden on a human being that he can never bear. Because he's the creator. He's the one that created us, and he knows best what's best for us, right? So you would never find in the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala something over the capacity of the human beings. And that's why if a person is not able, then it's permissible for them to break their fast, but they will expiate whether it's by feeding a poor or the different ways. So this is the goal of fasting. And from now in the month of Sha'ban, we need to prepare ourselves for the month of Ramadan. And prepare ourselves mentally and also in matters of worship. Mentally with our hearts, that we would have the strong intention that we need to make ourselves righteous people before the month of Ramadan by the will of Allah. As one of the early generations of Islam, he said, "Tuba liman aslaha nafsahu qabla Ramadan." Glad tidings, good news. He's a happy person, the one that will rectify himself and work on himself to be a good person before the month of Ramadan. Why? So that from the first moment of Ramadan, from the Maghrib of the first night of Ramadan, that person can gain great rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that fasting and the night prayer and so on, it will be means of joy in this life and in the hereafter. Why? When the Iman increases, then the reward is given as much as the Iman is. Right? If a person's Iman is weak, his reward will be accordingly. If his Iman is strong, his reward will be also according to the strength of his Iman. And the Prophet ﷺ used to prepare for that by fasting in the month of Sha'ban. It's not mandatory, but it's something recommended if a person is able to do that, to get ourselves into the way of Ramadan, right? And also with the Quran and the night prayer and so on. So we should always remember this taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to see that in ourselves, that the taqwa is to stay away from sins and to do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered us to do. And the month of Ramadan help us to do this. Help the person make salah, recite Quran, help the poor, help the needy. We know that in Ramadan we're not supposed to backbite or anything. This is not just in Ramadan, this is all years. And one of the sad things is that you find people very nice to you when they talk to you. And they smile to your face and they say all kinds of things. And once you turn your back to them or you leave the place, they start talking about you, making fun of you, and saying things. This is, in Islam, this is a major sin, to backbite, to say something about another Muslim behind his back, even if it's true. In Ramadan, many of us as Muslims, we make sure that we don't do anything of backbiting or anything, right? Because some people, they think that it breaks their fasting. It doesn't break the fasting, by the way, but the sin of Ramadan is multiplied. So many people, they would guard their tongues and make sure that only say what is good. But this is something good in Ramadan and throughout the whole year, right? So this is a month of change, and also it's a month of gaining from the rewards of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a result of working on oneself throughout the year. So it's a reward from Allah, and at the same time it's a time for us to change the bad habits that we have. Then he says, the hadith, حدثنا قتيبة بن سعيد قال حدثنا إسماعيل بن جعفر عن أبي سهيل عن أبيه عن طلحة بن عبيد الله. طلحة بن عبيد الله, one of the 10 that the Prophet ﷺ gave him the glad tidings of Jannah. أن أعرابيا, that a Bedouin, جاء إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ثائر الرأس. A Bedouin came to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم ثائر الرأس, his head, the word ثائر, they use it from the word thawra, revolution, right? So his head is in revolution. What does that mean? His head is everywhere, his hair is all over the place, right? ثائر الرأس, his head is not calm, basically. فقال يا رسول الله, he said, O Messenger of Allah, أخبرني ماذا فرض الله علي من الصلاة. Inform me what Allah had made it obligatory on me with regards to the salah, with prayers. فقال الصلوات الخمس إلا أن تطوع شيء. He said the 5 daily prayers, unless you would تطوع, you would do voluntary prayers. If you do more, this is good for you, but it's not obligatory, right? And the more the person increases Iman, the more that he would do the voluntary prayers, the optional prayers, and it definitely strengthens one's Iman and elevates oneself. But the obligations are the 5 daily salah. And this hadith actually fits exactly to the, to all of our faith. فقال أخبرني ما فرض الله علي من الصيام. He said, inform me what Allah. See the statement? This Bedouin, he understood very well what is the meaning when he said La ilaha illallah Rasulullah. He's not asking what should I do. He's asking أخبرني ما فرض الله. Inform me what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator of the heavens and the earth, made it obligatory on me. See, this is something to be witnessed, right? This is something that the heart has to be moved with this. It's not just some actions to be done. This is the order of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It makes a big difference when a person's action is like this. So what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had made it obligatory on me with regards to siyam, fasting. That's why he brought this hadith. فَقَالْ شَهْرُ رَمَضَانِ إِلَّا أَن تَطَوَّعَ شَيْءٍ. The month of Ramadan, unless you do more. So the month of Ramadan is the mandatory. More than that, as the Prophet ﷺ used to fast Mondays and Thursdays and more, this is optional, this is not mandatory. فَقَالَ أَخْبِرْنِي بِمَا فَرَضَ اللَّهُ عَلَيَّ مِنَ الزَّكَاةِ. Inform me what Allah, the Most High, made it obligatory on me with regards to as-zakat. Zakat means purification, but we know what zakat means. Zakat is the obligatory charity. فَقَالَ فَأَخْبَرَهُ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم شَرَائِعَ الْإِسْلَامِ. The Prophet ﷺ informed them of the rules of the deen of Islam. Right? And the zakat has many different rulings to it, of course. So he informed this man about this. So the man said, قال والذي أكرمك لا أتطوع شيئا ولا أنقص مما فرض الله علي شيئا. He said, والذي أكرمك. He said, by the one that honored you, meaning Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I will not do anything voluntarily. I will not do anything optional. Right? And I will not do anything less than what you told me that it's obligatory on me. فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم told him, أفلح إن صدق أو دخل الجنة إن صدق. Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم told him, أفلح, from al-falah. He is successful if he is truthful. If you only do the obligations, he is successful. If he is truthful, he will do it in the most perfect way. أو دخل الجنة إن صدق. Or he will enter Jannah, paradise, if he is truthful. Right? So, the obligatory acts, of course, is the most important thing. But then, should a person be satisfied with this only? The Prophet ﷺ said, in Salah, if he's truthful, there's always deficiencies in our obligatory acts. Right? We make the Salah, but we don't do it in the most perfect way. So that's why the optional acts of worship, it's important for people like us, right, to make sure that we perfect our ibadah. And the day of judgment, the first thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will ask the Muslims, those who on the tawheed, on the oneness of worship of Allah, will ask them after that about the salah. And if it's sound, everything else will be sound. And if it's deficient, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say to the angels, right, انظروا هل لعبد من تطوع. And this hadith in Surah Al-Tirmidhi, it's a sound hadith. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say, look into my slave's actions. Do you see any tatawwa? Do you see any optional acts of worship, optional salah? Right? Why? So that it would complete the deficiencies in the obligatory acts of worship. So definitely it's a very important thing, and it should not be missed. Of course, there are many rulings that are mentioned about this, but as we promised before, just to be in the subject of what he brought the hadith for fasting, that this is one of the pillars of Islam. By the way, if you look into the index, the order of the chapters, last week we were talking about Kitab al-Ilm, right? The book of knowledge, but we skipped. Because after that it's the Kitab of the Tahara, purity, the wudu, and the ghusl and so on, and then the Salah, right? Many chapters, of course. And then he mentioned after Salah, Zakat, right? And then with all the many chapters of Zakat. Then after Zakat he mentioned Hajj, and not fasting. And with all the Hajj and Umrah and all the rulings and many chapters and so on. And then, after that, fasting. Most of the hadith, when it talks about the pillars of Islam, the Shahadatain, then the Salah, then fasting, or sometimes Zakat, then fasting, and then Hajj. Right? Why this is the order like this? He had a reason, of course, for that. As some of the ulama, they said, he put the Salah, of course, which is the most important pillar after the Shahadatain. Then after that, because the Salah is an act of worship done physically, a physical act of worship. Then the Zakah was mentioned, which is an act of worship done with one's wealth, right? And then Hajj has both, wealth and physical actions. You spend from your money and you do actions, and that's why Hajj is a very comprehensive act of worship. And then fasting, which is unique with one's body only. So, it's just a way of would make people think basically the goals of each ibadah, which is again, it's different from one to the other. So then after that he says, حدثنا مسدد قال حدثنا إسماعيل. And this is different than the Ismail mentioned before. The one before was Ismail ibn Ja'far. This one is Ismail ibn Ulayya. And Ayyub al-Sikhtiyani. If you remember, again, just reminding one another with some of these names so that it's good to know them and to imitate them and to follow them. These were A'imma of his deen. Ayyub al-Sikhtiyani is the one that, if you remember, we said that whenever he would mention the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he would weep. Right? This is Ayyub al-Sikhtiyani. And one of the people that the A'imma would mention his name of those who we need to follow in matters of belief. Right? Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, he mentioned his name in his book, Usul Sunnah, that you follow, of course, the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba radiallahu anhu. He mentioned some of the A'imma of the deen, because again it's a chain, right, that continues till the Day of Judgment. So it's important for the person to know his lineage. So one of them that he mentioned, Ayyub al-Sikhtiyani, was Imam of matters of the deen. عن نافع عن ابن عمر. ابن عمر رضي الله عنهما قال, he said, صام النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عاشوراء. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم fasted عاشوراء. عاشوراء means the 10th of al-Muharram. He fasted the 10th of the month of al-Muharram. وأمر بصيامه, and he ordered people to fast it. فلما فرض رمضان ترك. And when Ramadan became obligatory, became fard, turik, it was left. Meaning the fasting of the 10th of Muharram left to be an obligation, and it stayed to be an optional fasting. And he says, وَكَانَ عَبْدُ اللَّهِ لَا يَصُومُهُ إِلَّا أَنْ يُوَافِقَ صَوْمَهُ. Abdullah ibn Umar, he had an opinion here because of this hadith. He said he used to not to fast it, the 10th of Muharram, unless it fits a day that he would normally fast, like a Monday and Thursday or every other day. And if it happened to be the 10th of Muharram, he would fast. Although there is a hadith, and that's what, it's a great evidence that you see a companion of the Prophet ﷺ did not used to fast the 10th of Muharram. That means we do things and they didn't do it. This is a clear evidence that nobody can ever claim that all the companions of the Prophet ﷺ knew everything about the Prophet ﷺ. And the same thing for those who come after them. Nobody can ever claim that he knows the whole entire deen of Islam from the beginning to the end. And that's, if a person understands this, then he will understand why there's differences of opinion, because nobody comprehended every hadith and everything, right? And the people with the knowledge, they're different from one another. So what is the criteria for us to know what is right and what is wrong? And again, this is the work of the people of knowledge, is to go back to the way of the Prophet ﷺ. There is the other hadith in Sahih Muslim and others where the Prophet ﷺ talked about fasting the 10th of Muharram. And then when he was in Medina and he got to know that the Jews, they fast this day, he said, and this is the day where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved Musa from Fir'aun, he said, نَحْنُ أَحَقُّ بِمُوسَى مِنْهُ. We have more rights to Musa than them. And he started fasting it, alayhi salatu wasalam, and he said, if Allah gave me life to the next year, I would fast the day before. But the same day, the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam used to fast this as an obligation, right, before he went to Al-Madinah. So before Ramadan was made an obligation, there was only the day of Ashura as a mandatory fasting for the believers. Once Ramadan became mandatory, this was abrogated, cancelled, meaning the obligations of fasting the month of the 10th of Al-Muharram. And it seemed, as the ulama, they say, for some time the Prophet ﷺ would not fast it. And that's why Ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma would not fast it. Then the Prophet ﷺ, he started fasting the 10th of Al-Muharram again as an optional act of worship. And he said that I hope that expiates the sin of the previous years. So the point of the hadith is that the fard here is the month of Ramadan. This is mandatory, of course, this is consensus. Whoever denies this takes him outside the fold of Islam, one of the pillars of Islam. The last hadith in the chapter, he says, حدثنا قتيبة بن سعيد قال حدثنا الليث بن سعد عن يزيد بن أبي حبيب أن عراك ابن مالك حدثه أن عروة بن الزبير أخبره informed him عن عائشة رضي الله عنها. She said أن قريشا كانت تصوم يوم عاشوراء في الجاهلية. The people of Quraysh, they used to fast the 10th of Al-Muharram in the Jahiliyyah, in the days of ignorance. ثم أمر رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بصيامه حتى فرض رمضان. Then the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم ordered the people to fast the 10th of Muharram till Ramadan became fard. وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من شاء فليصم ومن شاء أفطر. He said then, عليه الصلاة والسلام, whoever will, he should fast it, meaning the 10th of Muharram, and whoever will, after, will break his fast. So this is an optional thing, it's not a mandatory thing. And this again shows that the fard of the month of Ramadan. One important point before we get into the virtues of fasting with regards to Ramadan, this is fard. And forgive me if this was mentioned before, but just to make sure that it's clear, anything that is fard, it's the highest level of reward. If a person will do optional acts of worship from the day he was born till he died, and even more than that, right, with optional acts of worship, it would not be equal to one act of worship that is done as a fard or mandatory, right? So this is with no exaggeration whatsoever. This is how it is. If a person breaks his fast at Ramadan one day intentionally with no excuse, right, and if he fasts every day of his life, optional fast, the reward of optional fast, the whole life of the life of all human beings, would not be equal to the reward of fasting one day in Ramadan, right? So then what a person would do then? Repentance, tawbah, and make up the day, right? But what expiate the sin is repentance, not making up the day. Making up the day, he has to make up the day, of course, according to the majority of the ulama, but that by itself does not expiate the sin. What expiate this major sin is to repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely, regretting the sin, having the intentions that he would never do it again, and he would quit the sin, and this will change his whole entire life, that he become a righteous person and do so many good deeds in his life to make sure that this major sin will not affect him in his life and hereafter. And the same thing with Salatul Fard, and this is something that we do every day. And not just missing it, perfecting it, right? So that we know our priorities in our life. If a person, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us, even coming late for Salatul Fard and missing Takbiratul Ihram, missing the first takbir, right? With no exaggeration, to be present behind the Imam and not missing Takbiratul Ihram, and the person speaking should be the first to apply this, but I'm the worst, so may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us. But this is the thing, we have to make sure that a person should work on himself. Missing Takbiratul Ihram, the first takbir of the Salah, the reward of it, if a person would make optional Salah all day, all of his life, is not equal to missing this one takbir of the Fard Salah, reward-wise. So anything that is related to the Fard, nothing can come close to it in reward whatsoever. So that's why sometimes when a person doesn't have the proper understanding, we would indulge, I'm talking about good people, righteous people, right? They would indulge into optional acts of worship, mashallah, this is good, but then it would affect their obligation. It should not affect their obligation, right? And as Umar radiallahu anhu, when he had this fiqh, this understanding, he said, لأن أنام الليل كله وأصلي الفجر في جماعة خير لي من أن أقوم الليل كله وأصلي الفجر في بيتي. He's saying that I would rather sleep all night and pray Fajr in Jama'ah, in the masjid, than to wake up all night in Salah and to pray Fajr at home, not going to the masjid. It doesn't mean that we should sleep all night and come to Fajr. He did not say that, right? He said it in this contrast or this comparison here. So optional acts of worship definitely not to be left. But we have to put things in perspective. And the Hadith would say, وَمَا تَقَرَّبَ إِلَيَّ عَبْدِي بِشَيْءٍ أَحَبَّ إِلَيَّ مِمَّا افْتَرَضْتُ عَلَيْهِ. My slave, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, will never draw himself closer to me with anything more or better than what I made an obligatory for him. Right? So if it's time for the Salah and this person wants to give charity to a poor person, right? Of course the Salah is the most important thing. Unless it's a life and death situation where a person in surgery, this is a different situation. I'm not talking about the exceptions. I'm talking about the norm of the life of the Muslim. That's the most obligatory thing. And one thing is, and again I'm not trying to make anybody feel bad, but a simple Muslim somewhere in a very poor, simple village somewhere in the world, he hears the adhan and goes to the masjid, right? And that's the only thing that he do in his life, is much, much better than someone is very sophisticated in his life and is missing Salatul Fajr, right? Because sometimes we say, oh, we're benefiting the Muslims so much, we're benefiting the Ummah so much, we're doing, yes, mashallah, this is great, but without undermining the obligations, without neglecting our obligations in life. So we have to know the obligations to perfect it. There's no compromisation in it whatsoever. And then when it comes to the optional acts of worship, people varies. And this is where the person can excel himself, mashallah, and so on, but without undermining the obligations whatsoever, and one of which is the month of Ramadan. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from us. One of which also the mistakes that are done in Ramadan, and not to belittle the night prayer in Ramadan, Salat Tarawih, is a virtuous thing. Definitely we should make sure that we never miss it. And the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man qama Ramadan imanan wa ihtisaban, ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbihi." Whoever prays the night prayer in Ramadan, his previous sins will be forgiven. Do it iman and believing in it and seeking the rewards from Allah. And to get that reward, you should not miss a night. And to make sure that you get the reward of the night prayer, the Prophet ﷺ said in the authentic hadith, "Man salla," okay, meaning in Ramadan, "ma'a imamihi hatta yansarif, kutibat lahu qiyamul layl." Whoever prays with his imam till he finishes, it will be written for him the night prayer of a night. So that means, don't pray just few rak'ah and leave. Right? Make sure that you be patient till they finish the salah. Right? Even if your opinion that 11 rak'ah is better than 21 or 23 rak'ah. No, it's better for you, even if it's that your opinion, to pray behind the imam till he finishes the 23 rak'ah, to make sure that you get the night prayer, right, for sure. Why? Because he finished. And I remember one of the students of Shaykh Ibrahim Zidan was very strict in the 11 rak'ah. Right, in his book of Dar-Ul-Islam, and again this is a debatable issue, I don't want to get into it, but he was very strict with this, that 11 rak'ah in Ramadan and so on. When he would pray in the haram, he would finish the salah with the imam, the 23 rak'ah, right? So he would not leave after 11 rak'ah. Some people, they do that. I've seen that in some places where you find, I remember the masjid was, half of the masjid, once the 10 rak'ah or 12 rak'ah, and then finish with the 8 rak'ah. So finish the 8 rak'ah, they all leave, and only few will stay with you. So it's better to stay with the imam till he finishes the salah. So with regards to the night prayer, some people, they would make sure that they would not miss the Tarawih prayer in Ramadan, which is definitely very good. But then they don't come to the Fajr Salah, or they don't come to the Dhuhr Salah, which is more rewardable. To come to the masjid, to the Dhuhr Salah, if a person is able to come, or to make the night prayer in Ramadan. Dhuhr Salah is more rewardable. It doesn't mean that we leave the night prayer. I'm not saying that so that we would leave the Tarawih prayer. No, this is definitely not the case. But we need to know the priorities, because fard, nothing can be the like of it whatsoever. So when we find ourselves at home and relaxed, and it's time for fard, or I feel lazy, I don't want to go. But you find yourself very energetic to go to the Tarawih prayer. No, it should be both ways. And not just the Tarawih prayer, but all the prayers, especially the obligatories. We'll have, inshallah, a longer time if you have any questions. And so then, just take that one chapter. Babu Fadl al-Sawm, the chapter of the virtues of fasting. Fadl al-Sawm, the virtues of fasting. قال حدثنا عبد الله بن مسلم عن مالك الإمام مالك رحمه الله عن أبي الزناد عن الأعرج عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال أبي الزناد الأعرج. أبي الزناد, this is a kunya, right? And his name is Abdullah bin Akwai. Al-A'raj, Abdurrahman Hormuz. Right? These are A'imma also of the deen, but they're mentioned with the kunya, or what they're known to be. That the Prophet ﷺ said, "As-siyam junnah." As-siyam junnah. Junnah with a dhamma on the jinn, not jannah. Jannah is jannah, paradise. As-siyam junnah, fasting is junnah. Junnah means a shield, right? A shield from what? A shield from the hellfire. A shield from sins that leads to the hellfire. When we have anything in the deen of Islam that we're supposed to fear, we fear the hellfire, to enter the hellfire, and we fear what makes us enter the hellfire. Right? So there are two things. So what we shield ourselves from is the hellfire, and also the deeds that would lead the person to the hellfire. So as-siyam is junnah to these two things. The day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will protect those who used to fast from the hellfire, and also in this life, it protects the person from taking the path of the people of the hellfire by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then as a result of that, if it's junnah, and the person is able to stay away from the necessities of his life, then the order becomes easy. فَلَا يَرْفُثْ وَلَا يَجْهَلْ. That means the Prophet ﷺ saying he should not yarfuth. This person, fasting person, he should not yarfuth. Al-rafath is al-kalam al-fahish, is the foul language, is the bad words, but mainly when the word al-rafath is mentioned, and this is mentioned in Hajj also, is the bad talk that has to do with men and women relations and so on. Right? The people, most of the foul language and bad words is in this, right? So this is mainly the thing, or any other foul language. So a person should stay away from saying bad things. وَلَا يَجْهَلْ. وَلَا يَجْهَلْ. He should not do any ignorant things. Whatever is called ignorant, of course this is everything that is haram, and anything that people would consider to be ignorant. Screaming, right? Doing something foolish, right? Making fun of himself. Whatever that looks ignorant, that this is something that the fasting person should be away from this. He should have respect and people should see that in him. وَإِنِ امْرُؤٌ قَاتَلَهُ أَوْ شَتَمَهُ فَلْيَقُلْ إِنِّي صَائِمٌ مَرَّتَيْنِ. If someone قَاتَلَهُ means fight with him. قَاتَلَهُ not قَاتَلَهُ, right? قَتَل is to kill someone. قَاتَلَهُ, right, means that if you fight someone, it doesn't have to be that you will try to kill him. Just fight, fist fight or anything of that nature. So if someone will try to fight with you, أَوْ شَتَمَهُ, or he start cursing him or saying bad words to him, فَلْيَقُلْ, then the fasting person should say, إِنِّي صَائِمٌ, 2 times. This is exactly what it means, and this is exactly what should be done. For the fard salat, definitely this is a good fard fasting that should be done because it's the month of Ramadan, and everybody knows that this is Ramadan. So it's known that people are fasting. So if someone tries to quarrel with you or try to start a fight or anything, you say it like this. It's not riyah, it's not showing off. You're applying the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. You say, إِنِّي صَائِمٌ. Right? And if the person doesn't understand Arabic, he can say, I'm fasting. And what that means is, it means that you are different. You are in a different state. You're not worried and busy with all of this ignorance. You are in a state of fasting. Right? You're close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're away from these ignorant things. Right? You elevated yourself by being in the state of fasting. It shows again that fasting is such a great thing that a person, even his heart, should be fasting away from ignorance and even away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anything that will get you away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you stay away from it with your heart and abstain from it. The ulama, they talked about the optional fasting. Should a person say the same thing if he's fasting, optional fasting? Well, that will be showing up, right? Some said the hadith is general, right? Whether it's in Ramadan or other than Ramadan. So if somebody trying to fight with you or say bad things to you, and you're fasting Monday or Thursday, you're fasting in general, optional fasting, you should say, إِنِّي fasting, I'm fasting. But with making sure that you're sincere when you say it. You're not saying it to show off. You're saying it because you want to apply the hadith. Or some said, this is only for the obligatory fasting and not for the optional, but Allah A'lam, as the ulama, they say this is general. To say that. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, وَالَّذِي نَفْسِي بِيَدِهِ, by the one my soul is in his hands, swearing by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لَخُلُوفُ فَمِ الصَّائِمِ أَطْيَبُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى مِنْ رِيحِ الْمِسْكِ. Al-khuluf is the change of the smell of one's mouth. The bad breath, basically. So the bad breath, or the smell of the mouth of the fasting person, أَطْيَبُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ, it's more pure and more beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and more of a better smell to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than the smell of musk. The bad breath that comes into the mouth of the person that is fasting has nothing to do with whether he washed his mouth or not, whether he used siwak or not. It's something that will still be there because it's from his stomach, right? Because the stomach is empty, right? So no matter what he do, he will still have some level of this. So yes, a person should not then say, well, then let me just be close to the people and talk to them, and he should still avoid harming others, right, with his smell. And this is not a good smell to the human beings, but the Prophet ﷺ is saying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right, it's better than the smell of musk. So does that mean that you're supposed to love the smell from one another? Not necessarily. This is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But it shows also the virtues of the fasting person. And it shows also that a very delicate benefit here, that to see what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala likes from us, not necessarily something that we would like. And you will see that it's one of the things that a person, is a good thing to witness in some of the acts of worship. Like Hajj, for example. Mecca is not the most beautiful place on earth. Right? You go there and you don't see any attraction whatsoever. Nobody would try to go to Mecca to enjoy the weather or the scenery, or there's nothing. But why it's the most visited city in the world, why you want to go there, it's because of the matters of worship. When you are in state of Haram and people are Hajj, nobody looks nice, everybody looks not good. But to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the best scene ever. Right? So to learn from this and the fasting and so on, that it's not by what we look, it's what the reality of us, how we are close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also for us as Muslims to be away from this silliness and foolishness of human beings when they elevate one another based on how they look and this or that. It's really what the person, how righteous that person is. So, and the Prophet ﷺ said, يَتْرُكُ طَعَامَهُ وَشَرَابَهُ وَشَهْوَتَهُ مِنْ أَجْلِهِ. He leaves, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, he leaves his food and his drink and his desire for me, min ajli, for the sake of Allah, because this is the ibadah of as-sir. This is a secretive ibadah. As-siyam is not an openly done act of worship. Nobody can see you fasting, right? It's not something to be done physically to show that you are fasting, right? It's a amal salbi, that means you're not doing anything, you're not eating and drinking, and that's why only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that the person is fasting or not. Because if in your heart, if you're during the day of Ramadan, for example, you decided to break your fast, not whispers of shaitan, no, you decided you're done, and you're walking to the fridge to get something to eat, right? You broke your fast. Even if you go there and the earthquake happened and you didn't eat anything, right? You broke your fast that day, because a niyyah, intention, is a pillar of fasting. This can be if a person is a traveling person and he has the excuse to break his fast, right? So while he is excused and he can break his fast and there's no sin on him, so he decided to break his fast. But he didn't eat yet, he's cooking, right? He already broke his fast, because in his intentions, he made the decision. Not that he's thinking. If a person is still thinking and debating with himself, right? This is not breaking the fast yet. So that's why it's a secretive ibadah, only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. That's why a person leaves his eating and drinking and his desire min ajli, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. And that's why as-siyamu li, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would say, fasting is for me. Wa ana ajzi bi, and I will give the reward of it. Although all the ibadah is for the sake of Allah, but this is specially mentioned for fasting, to show that the reward of fasting, nobody can ever comprehend it. As the Prophet ﷺ said to Abu Darda, radiyallahu anhu, alayka bis-siyam fa innahu la 'idla lahu. Keep on fasting, because there's nothing the like of it. When a person is standing, sitting, sleeping, he's gaining rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being in that state of act of worship. وَالْحَسَنَةُ بِعَشْرِ أَمْثَالِهَا, and the reward is given, multiplied by 10 times. This is the normal way, but for fasting, وَأَنَا أَجْزِي بِهِ, I will give the reward for it, and if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that and referring to himself, although all the ibadah is to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but this is specially mentioned, that means the reward is nobody can comprehend it. It's not just 10 times multiplied, it's far more than that, and people are in levels. Some people, their fast is to abstain from food and drink and sexual desires only. And those who are higher than them, those who abstain from all sins and all what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbade. The highest level is when a person abstains from anything that makes the heart attached to other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Busy with the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with being close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is the highest level of fasting that a person should try his best to be among these people. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among those who witness the month of Ramadan, to accept the acts of worship. Sallallahu alaihi wa sallam.